Am I wrong for taking my friend to court after she kicked me out of the bridal party for cutting my hair? For my friend's 3-day wedding, I had to buy 3 different dresses, including alterations and specific shoes, which totaled over $700. She also wanted specific hairstyles for each day. Unfortunately, starting in March, my hair started to deteriorate. Due to health reasons, my hair was falling out in chunks, and in May, I made the difficult decision to cut my hair. I told the bride about my decision 2 weeks before the wedding, and she didn't say anything bad. The following week, she came over to my house, and when she was about to leave, she brought up that she was concerned about my haircut, and I told her it would look good even though I wouldn't be in uniform with the other bridesmaids. The following day, I received this message. After our recent conversations, I like to remind you of my boundaries. I've been very accommodating and graceful, but I cannot allow you to disrespect me. As you know, my wedding has been something I've dreamt of for many years. My husband and I have invested a lot of money into the video and photos of this day, and as we reflect on this day in the future, we want to see our vision reflected in the memories. Since I asked each of you to be my bridesmaids in 2019, I've been very clearly and very communicative in my request. The timing of your decision to cut your hair and not come in advance is very upsetting to me. I would have felt respected if you had communicated with me more than a week prior to the wedding, so we could have worked together to find a collaborative solution. Your inconsistencies have concerned me, and while I sympathize with your health conditions, I'm not willing to compromise my vision to accommodate you or anyone else when you have informed me in advance and we could have found a better solution. Since this is something you can no longer fully commit to, I need you to please step down from participating in my wedding. This was 3 days before the wedding. I immediately sent her and her husband an invoice asking them to reimburse for the dresses and shoes, keeping in mind that one of the dresses is still in her possession even though I paid for it. I was told I was inconsistent and selfish after I spent the past 2 weeks helping her plan the wedding shower. I worked with another bridesmaid to surprise her with a bridal shower after our bachelorette trip had to be canceled. I spent hours helping her out with wedding details. When she asked me to help her tone up before the wedding, I sent her a personalized workout program and even went with her to the gym to show her the ropes. When I agreed to be her bridesmaid, I was more than willing to oblige with what she asked, even if at times it was a lot of time and money. So, am I wrong for taking her to court because she kicked me out for cutting my hair?
Storytime about how I messed up giving a homeless girl my room at a hotel. Over the weekend, I was staying at a popular UK chain hotel and thought I was going to be there until Sunday night. Well, 1 p.m. comes and I get back to the hotel early from having lunch, and it turns out that they have a strict checkout time of 12 p.m. to get your money back. And I don't really want to stay there all day by myself miles away just for the sake of it. Over in the corner of the hotel lobby was a little lounge area with a sofa and some armchairs. There was a girl who must not have been much older than 18 or so sleeping on the sofa, and you could tell from her appearance that she was sleeping rough and had come inside out of the rain. The hotel reception staff had walked over to her and were asking her to leave, which I understand, but I felt horrible for her. I followed her out into the car park and offered my room key if she promised not to trash the room as long as she checked out on time. She agreed, and so I went on my way, not really thinking much about it other than how she wouldn't have to sleep outside in the rain. I spoke to my brother later on, and he informed me that if something bad happened to her in the room, then it would be on me, so I was panicked all last night. I tried calling the hotel to tell them the situation, but couldn't get through. Well, they eventually called me, and it turns out she didn't only trash the room, but she also urinated in the hallway, tried to smash the vending machine, and was a general disturbance to the other guests. The hotel informed me that I'd have to pay for any damages, and the reception lady gave me a very stern lecture about why they don't just give people rooms when they show up like that. Lesson learned, but at least an 18-year-old girl didn't have to sleep outside in the rain and be open to any number of dangerous situations for a night, I suppose.
Michael, and even though I grew up poor, I went to a school full of rich and spoiled kids. The worst part was being picked on by my classmate Paul. He always asked me why I was walking to school instead of driving my own car. Of course, he knew my family didn't have enough money to buy me a car, but he simply enjoyed reminding me that his parents were richer than mine. Trust me, I hated Paul. But every time he made fun of me, I swore myself that someday I would be richer than him. The only question was, how? I wasn't the smartest person in the world, and frankly, I wasn't hardworking either. Well, after months of me trying to find an easy way to become rich, I had an idea. What if I would marry a rich and old widow? I mean, I was handsome and pretty good at talking to other people. I thought that every grandma would see me as a great catch. But where could I meet an old and rich widow? I was just some poor guy from New York. I decided to do some internet research, and bingo! I found dozens of articles about an old and widowed woman whose rich husbands had died a long time ago. I decided to go for one specific widow. Let's call her Elizabeth. She was 72, and her husband had been one of the wealthiest fashion designers in the world. Well, until he died of a heart attack. The only question was, how could I meet up with her? I decided to call her secretary, and I pretended to work for the New York Times. I asked if Elizabeth was interested in giving an interview about her deceased husband. The secretary said, Elizabeth doesn't do interviews, but she will attend a charity event inside the Hyatt Regency Hotel next week. You can try your luck and approach her there. Bingo. But then I learned that a ticket to the event cost $500. To be able to afford it, I had to beg my mom for 2 hours straight. I told her, if you give me those $500, I will pay you $500,000 back someday. When she finally gave me the money, she said, I don't have much more, so don't waste it. I thanked her 1,000 times and went on to buy the $500 ticket and rent a good suit for a day. When I arrived at the event, I was super nervous. I felt so out of place around those old and wealthy people. But then I saw Elizabeth. She didn't look very happy. She almost looked sad and bored. When she came back from the restroom, I took my chance and said hi to her. She was pleasantly surprised and said, Oh, sir, with whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with? I said, I'm Michael. My uncle invited me to this event, but I don't have anyone to talk to. She said, Oh, come sit at my table. Those people here are so boring anyway. Well, that's how it started. We talked for hours, and we were joking and laughing, and the sad old lady turned into a happy and energetic woman again. When the event reached its end, I said, If you ever want to meet again, I'll give you my phone number. She said, Of course. I'd love to spend time with someone as young and fun as you. Then, 3 days later, she invited me to her villa inside the Hamptons. Before I arrived, I checked the estimated value of her home on Zillow.com, and it said $40 million. Wow! But I told you, her husband had been one of the richest and most successful fashion designers in the world. So when I arrived, her butler picked me up and escorted me to Elizabeth. She was wearing a pink outfit and said, Oh, there you are. I'm so happy you took the time to visit me. I gotta admit, talking to her was a lot of fun. But nothing else happened. At least not on our first date. But on our second date, we had a little bit too much champagne, and we kissed. I know, how gross. But the champagne made it easier for me, and of course, Elizabeth was on cloud 9. She was so happy to have a handsome and young guy like me as her lover. She also told me about her family. She said none of them visited her because all they did was party in Hollywood. She said they only waited for her to die and take her inheritance. I told her how sorry I felt for her, and she said, It's okay. You are a gentleman. You know how to treat a lady like me. That's where our love story started, and for the next 2 years, we spent all our time together traveling all over Europe, sleeping in the finest hotels, and always flying private jets. Everything was going well until her family found out she was dating me, a 20-year-old boy. They called Elizabeth and told her to break up with me, because according to them, I was only after her money. But Elizabeth was a smart woman. She perfectly knew that part of why I was her boyfriend was a luxurious life she was providing me, but her family didn't care that I made Elizabeth happy. They kept trying to destroy our relationship. Well, at least until Elizabeth broke off all contact with them. She was happy having me as her boyfriend, and that's all that mattered to her. And a week later, she came up to me and said, Michael, let's get married. And of course, I said yes. I understand that people assume I only married her to get her money, but that's not true. I really liked her. But then, just 6 months into our marriage, she didn't wake up from her sleep. It was tragic, and the doctor suspected that she had accidentally taken the wrong pills the night before. But it didn't matter, because I was her husband at the time of her death, so I was legally entitled to her whole fortune. And trust me, it was a very big fortune. I thought about giving some part of the inheritance to her family, but all of them already had a few million on their bank account, and they had always treated Elizabeth like trash, so I decided to keep the money for myself. Of course, they tried to sue me, claiming I had killed Elizabeth, but none of their accusations had any truth to them, and in the end, I let my lawyers handle it. But of course, I hadn't forgotten why I had wanted to become rich in the first place. After I had received Elizabeth's money on my bank account, the first thing I did was buy a Bugatti Veyron Supersport for $2 million in cash. And then I drove it to Paul's house. You remember the guy that made fun of me in high school? I rang the bell at his parents' home to see if he was still living there. And indeed, he opened the door and looked very surprised to see me. He said, Michael, what are you doing here? And I said, I just wanted to inform you that I have hundreds of times more money than your stupid parents. Just come. I want to show you my car. We walked to my car, and Paul looked almost shocked. He said, There is no way that's your car. You must have rented it. But I knew he would ask that question. So I opened the trunk, where I had stored $5 million in cash. I said, "You think I rented these too?" Paul didn't respond. And then I went right in front of his face and said, "Now you know who's balling." And then I went into my car and just drove away. Since then, I've sent Paul a Christmas card of me next to one of my cars every single Christmas. Oh, and do you remember how I promised my mom to pay her $500,000 back for the $500 she gave me? Well, I gave her much, much more money. Because she really deserved it.
Am I wrong for not lying about why I could not remove my headscarf? I, 24 female, am a bridesmaid for one of my closest friends, Jackie, 24. I've been so excited to help. I was in charge of the bridal shower, the games, decorations, and menu. I left the guest list to Jackie's sister. Due to religious reasons, I wear a headscarf. I love and am very proud of it. In the group chat with other bridesmaids, I was talking about how excited I am to attend a girls-only event. I recently dyed my hair and wanted to show it off. I even paid extra to ask for a girls-only staff that day. Day of, as guests arrive, I realize one of them is Tori, 26 female. I know Tori as a family friend of Jackie's, but the few times I met her, it was before her transition to female. I was aware of it, but unaware she was coming to the shower. I don't mind at all, of course, and she's a lovely person, but I decided to keep my scarf on. As everyone's eating later, I'm passing by the tables to make sure everyone's good, and one of my bridesmaids mentioned that they hadn't gotten to see my hair and they wanted to see it. I tried to dismiss it at first or say, "Oh, I'll show you later," but the other girls at the table got curious. I got uncomfortable and I just said, "Oh, I'm actually not really comfortable taking it off right now." When pressed as to why, I said there's guests I don't feel comfortable taking it off in front of. There was a collective, "Oh," and I thought, cool, that's over. But one girl got aggressive and asked if I was referring to Tori. She's loud and the other tables turn to look. I don't answer. The girl asks if I wear one around men, so I say yes. She then says there's no men here, so clearly you should take it off. I tell her again that I'm keeping it on. Another bridesmaid defends me and tells the girl to chill out. Tori comes over and says me not taking it off is a slap in the face to her identity. I'm just shocked and had no clue what to do. Eventually, Tori and a few girls left saying that they felt it was disrespectful. I feel awful that this ruined a beautiful day for my friend. It's causing more trouble with people threatening to leave the wedding over discrimination towards me or towards Tori. I don't think I was in the wrong. Just as Tori can be Tori, I can be me. I feel like it'd be the equivalent of me making Tori or someone else adjust for me. I feel like we should just accept and respect each other rather than be woke one-sided. My question is more about being honest as to why I couldn't. Jackie is on my side, but Jackie's sister is giving her hell for it, saying she purposely left out that detail in the guest list to test me. Jackie says I should have brushed it off and said I was having a bad hair day or avoid giving an answer. I didn't ever mention Tori's name in my answer, and I don't think my answer was rude, but seeing how much stress it's causing, I'm thinking I should have made up a lie. So, am I wrong for how I handled the situation?
Am I the asshole for making a scene of my adult son and sticking my nose in his marriage? Here's the important background. My daughter-in-law, 32, and son, 33, have 3 children, aged 3 years, 2 years, and 4 months. He convinced her to be a stay-at-home mom and sell her business by telling her how good of a childhood he had and how happy my marriage was without telling her, in parentheses, which I found out today, that our arrangement was everything before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. was split 50-50. Sunday was my day off, and I was brought out twice a week. On to the story. On my last visit, I noticed my daughter-in-law was struggling mentally. So I, my sister, 55 female, and her girlfriend, 53, pulled our money together and paid for a spa weekend for them while we'd babysit the kids for her birthday last weekend. I was preparing on Thursday evening for the kids to arrive when my daughter-in-law rang me, holding back tears, saying they won't be going because my son's friend came to town and he said he wanted to spend the weekend with his friends catching up. I pressed her a little and I'm talking a little about her situation. She came clean about him doing no chores, no date nights, and her basically doing all of the childcare because, quote, that's what stay-at-home moms do. I was honestly disgusted. I convinced her to drop me off the kids and bring a friend to the spa. I even dipped into my savings to give her £500 to buy herself something nice. When she dropped me off the kids, I begged her to tell me where my son was. After 5 minutes, she told me the bar. She left for the spa, while I left for the bar. Here's where I might be the asshole. I went to the bar where he and his friends were. I sat down next to the group and asked my son, quote, did I fail you as a mother, or was it your father? Because we both thought your partner comes before your silly drunk friends. Long story short, I humiliated him and got myself banned from the bar. My daughter-in-law said she will be taking the kids to her parents when she gets back tomorrow, and my son is calling me an asshole for humiliating him, sticking my nose in his marriage. Maybe I should have stayed out. I don't know.
Oh, I got stuff on this one. Wow.
People that every now and again I just got to give myself a good talking to, and sometimes that looks like sitting a rowdy teenager down and being stern with them, and other times it's just me reminding myself that I'm a queen and that everything's going to be okay. And the other day I was sitting in my office and I was trying to figure something out in Excel, and for the life of me I could not get it to do what I wanted it to do, and eventually I just felt like I was stuck in a cartoon where there's a little man running around taunting you, and I was mad. I was about ready to pick the computer up and throw it against the wall, and so I leaned back and I closed my eyes, and I like to channel my dad when I do these kind of talks, and I lean back, I close my eyes, and I say, you better knock it off right now. You and I both know that you're funny, but you are funny for free. So until you sign a deal with Netflix, I guess you might ought to just calm down and take a deep breath. Because if you throw that computer at the wall, the only thing you're gonna be is broke, and there ain't nothing funny about that. And so I took a deep breath, and then to balance it out, I channeled my grandmother, and I closed my eyes and I said, sweetheart, you just need to be a little easier on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's all gonna be okay. And sure enough, I figured out how to do it. But let me tell you, it does not always work out that way. Sometimes I just skip right by both of those, and I end up talking myself right into a bad idea. And before I know it, I'm 6 shots deep, wearing a pair of booty short overalls, a bikini bathing suit top, and a straw cowboy hat in the middle of Lone Star dance floor doing a dance off. I may not be perfect by any means, but I'll tell you what, I'm a good time.
So a lot of y'all ask me about my time in the military, so I'm gonna tell you this story. This is my day 0 in the Army, all right? I got picked up from Fort Leonard Wood, and I got picked up from the airport. I got bused to Fort Leonard Wood, all right? You don't get right off the bus and go straight into basic training. You go into like a reception center, all right? You could be a holdover forever. It just fucking depends, all right? So I'm on the bus going down there. Now let me paint you a picture. I look like Eric Cartman, all right? I'm 6 foot tall, 225 to 235 pounds of pure 100% American fat fuckery, all right? But here's what I'm wearing. I was one of those that didn't know he was fat, thought he looked good. I was basically like a walking pap smear, just making women uncomfortable, all right? I have on gold chain, yeah, white deep V-neck, okay, cargo shorts, camo colored, all right? Black Vans with my white Nike socks pulled all the way over my fucking cankles. I look good, all right? So we pull up there, there's a little 5'5" female drill sergeant. Short women are already mean. You give them a hat and some authority, they turn into a whole different fucking animal. She gets on the bus, starts yelling, get off my bus. I wasn't really paying attention, there's no way that was her bus. But years later, I realized she had said, females to the left, males to the right. Your boy, puss magnet, I get behind the females. She's like, hey, get in the other line. Hey, dumbass, get in the other line. Hey, fat fuck in the white V-neck, get in the other goddamn line. And I'm like, oh, I didn't hear a please, an excuse me, a daddy. This was love at first sight, all right? That shit, I'm fighting back fucking tears day 0 because that shit hurt because it came from a real fucking place. I'll never forget her name. It was Drill Sergeant. And I'm pretty sure her last name was Daggett because she was an angry little fucking beaver. She woke up every morning, put her feet shoulders width apart and just punched herself in the cooter, all right? She was mean. She told her period when to start, all right? It was just, she didn't have to go because it came from a real place. And that was my opening day to the Army. And after that, it was just a career full of bad choices.
You're not going to believe how this story ends. A lot of you have asked me to tell you my craziest story, and this definitely has to be in the top 3. Let me set the mood. It's Christmas Eve at Walmart. It's about 7 p.m. We're getting ready to close down for the night so everybody can go home and enjoy Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I step outside to do a perimeter check when I hear this man screaming and yelling for help. He runs up on me wearing what used to be a shirt now wrapped around his arms and back. But the front's completely torn out and he's got scratches on his chest, neck, and face. And he informs me that his wife is trying to kill him. Before I even have time to react, something comes out of my peripheral vision and smokes him in the face. It's a box of frozen corn dogs. Who the fuck throws corn dogs? I turned to see this small yet very hostile woman running at us at full force, holding a curtain rod that's still in the plastic and got tags. She runs up on him and starts swinging on him like she's Darth fucking Vader. He takes off into the parking lot and she gives chase. Now luckily we had an off-duty officer that night to watch the building overnight, so I radioed in to get him out there. But while I was waiting for him to respond, I'm just watching these two run through the parking lot. Have you ever seen anything that was comical yet terrifying? Like you didn't know if you should run for cover or start laughing? This was that. The officer finally makes his way out there, but by this time she's got him on the ground and she is standing over him, deadlifted a cart over her head like she's the Hulk, getting ready to bring this thing down on her. She wanted this man dead. The officer intervenes and breaks it up. But here's the craziest part of it all. And if you stuck around this long, go ahead and give this video a like and give me a follow if you don't already. The officer tells me the reason why they got into a fight. You see, they were loading their items into the car when the wife received a phone call from her sister, informing her that their mother was pregnant and her husband was the father. I'm sure that's a Christmas that neither one of them will ever forget. I know I won't.
I was hanging out with two friends of mine, and it was summer. It was awesome. And we decided to go and check out this abandoned building that we'd been to before, so we knew, like, our way around it and everything. And I might make a video. If you guys like this video, I'll make a vlog when I go back to New York of the building. So anyway, back to the story, okay? So me and my friends go to this building. That's where it all starts. We go in, and the first half of exploring was fine. Everything was pretty much good. But then we got to the second floor, and we walked in on something pretty scary because, well, you'll just hear. So on the second floor of this building was abandoned offices. So when you go up there, it's just hallways and abandoned office rooms. So we go up to the second floor, and I was the first in line to go into the office. So I turned right, and into the offices we went, and immediately when I turned right into them, I saw at the very corner back of the room, there was two people there. And, you know, it wasn't like the most surprising thing because honestly, like, they're abandoned buildings. People go in them all the time and explore or like smoke or something, you know what I mean? So I see two people, and they see us. I just waved. I was like, yo, what's up? And all of a sudden, this one dude just starts running toward. Don't worry, like, we're gonna go back. We're gonna get the car. It's gonna be okay. Like, they're not gonna be there. We're gonna wait. Don't worry. And finally, after like 20 minutes of just sitting there and talking, finally all were calmed down enough to go back, and we kind of like slowly approached it. We saw the car. Everything was fine. No one was in near. And we just straight sprinted at the car. Like, we fucking ran, opened all the doors, got in, shut the doors, locked the doors, turned the car on. My friend peeled the fuck out, and we drove away so quick. And I still don't know what the fuck they were doing. Like, honestly, I don't know if they were doing a drug deal, if they were like lovers, if they were fucking there hanging out. Like, I really have no idea. Like, put your guesses in the comments or something. It was just two guys standing there, and when we walked in, they started chasing us. I don't know what pissed them off. Maybe it was my wave. Maybe me waving and saying what's up like triggered one of them. But honestly, I have no idea. So that's pretty much into the story. Very, very scary and crazy one. Please leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed this story. Leave your stories in the comments down below. I turned around and I was down those stairs. I was running. All my friends were running behind me, and that dude was following. And his friend actually came out too. When we ran out of the building into the parking lot and kept running and getting chased, I looked behind me and I could see his friend in the very, very back. So these two dudes are chasing us, okay? They fucking chased us for probably a block. Like, they were not giving up. And finally, we lost them when we went into a forest. It was like this little bike trail thing. We ran through that, and finally they gave up about halfway through the forest and went back. And I don't know what the fuck would have happened if they caught up to us or caught one of us, but it would have been bad because when we stopped finally to catch our breath, my friend was freaking out. I was like, dude, what the fuck? I don't want to go back, because my friend's car was back in the parking lot. So we had to go back to get his car. I was like, no, like, we're going to give it a little bit. Like, we're not going back right now. Like, dude, I turned around and I saw one of them had a knife. Like, he literally had a knife in his hand. And I didn't see that, but I would believe it because my friend, this certain friend of mine, like, he never lied about shit. And he was literally like on the verge of crying. Like, I'd never seen him so scared in my life. And yeah, he was very shaken up.
I am getting married in a little under a month. I am going to cheat on my wife. I have never cheated before. I am 100% certain I will cheat once I am in a marriage. There is little hope I can remain faithful to a woman for the rest of my life. I will probably be able to avoid it for a few years, but once I want something different, I will look for it. So why am I getting married? Lots of reasons that are beneficial to me, but I do not want to disclose. They don't justify it anyways. I do love her, but I'm sure many would disagree given the above. She is an amazing person. A wise man would not do this. I am not wise. I don't feel guilty about it. I feel guilty that I don't feel guilty. I am a pedophile and I can't wait to die. My desires started around puberty. I've been carrying this secret around with me for over 10 years, and it's hung over every event of my life like a nauseous little cloud. I truly hate myself for having these desires. I know that when most people think about pedophiles, they think of child rapists or psychopaths, but I'm not like this. I've never acted on these feelings and I never will. The mere fact that my brain is sexually aroused by images of naked children makes me sick to my stomach and keeps me up every night. I haven't slept comfortably for years because of this. I know I won't commit suicide because I have a loving and supportive family. I could never take the person they think they know, that compassionate, intelligent young man I project to the outside world. away from them. This is also why I'll never tell them the truth about myself. I've had conversations about pedophilia with people, and the level of automatic disgust I read in their faces was enough to send shivers of despair down my spine. I've already sworn to myself that I will never get married, never have children. I'm seriously considering a vasectomy for what it's worth. At this point I really just look forward to death. I feel an eternity of nothingness would be like everlasting peace. Like I said, I'm not going to take that into my own hands, but it's one of the few things I genuinely look forward to. All in all, I acknowledge what I am and I accept the responsibility of it.
I've been with my boyfriend Colton for a couple years, but then one day he told me he'd fallen out of love with me. It broke my heart, but I loved him so much that I just wanted him to be happy. I mean, if I couldn't make him happy, I'd rather he found someone who could. We were still sharing an apartment, though. My friends thought it was weird, but I hated living alone, and I didn't have the money to find a place by myself. We still got along okay, but then Colton told me he needed some space, so he was going to spend the weekend with his parents. Alone and feeling sorry for myself, I called my best friend Christine to ask if we could meet up, but she said she needed to look after her daughter because she had a fever. I offered to come over, but she said she didn't want me to get sick too. I ended up binge-watching sad movies on Netflix all weekend. Colton came back on Monday. He told me he'd hung out with his parents doing nothing, but when I took out the trash, I noted some crumpled-up zoo tickets for 2 adults and 1 kid. It was so weird. He'd said he hadn't gone anywhere, so why would he have zoo tickets? Even stranger, why would he have a kid's ticket? Had he lied to me? Had he been on a date with a new girlfriend? I told myself to stop thinking about it. I mean, it wasn't my business. It was over between us. But I couldn't stop wondering. What if he'd broken up with me because he found someone else? What if he'd been seeing her behind my back? I decided to do some detective work and bought a GPS tracker I could follow with an app on my phone. I knew it was wrong, illegal even, but I stuck the GPS tracker on the bottom of his car anyway. Now I could see wherever he went. Everything was normal over the next few days. He went to work, he came home, like he always did. But on Friday he told me he was visiting his family for the weekend. Again. Showtime! I was about to find out where he really went. As soon as he left, I got into my car, I opened the GPS tracker app and followed him, keeping my distance so he wouldn't notice. I thought I recognized the route, and when he parked, my heart dropped. We were right outside Christine's place. It all made sense. That's why I'd found the kid's zoo ticket. I told myself it was just a coincidence. Maybe he was just stopping by on the way to his folks. I had to actually see them together to be 100% sure. So I parked my car close to the building so I could watch the entrance. It took 3 hours of waiting, but eventually I saw all 3 of them coming out together, and my ex-boyfriend was holding hands with my ex-best friend. It really hurt to see them all together. I'm not the kind of person to make a big scene, so I didn't confront them. What would be the point? It wouldn't change anything. Instead, I drove home and lost myself in a tub of ice cream. I don't know if there's some lesson in this story. I'm looking for a new apartment, though, and when I move, I'll surround myself with more honest people. It's time to let go.
Hey, I'm Olivia, and I met my boyfriend Christian 2 years ago in college. I always thought we had the perfect relationship because we were best friends and loved each other so much. Literally all of our friends called us the dream couple. But 6 months ago, Christian said we needed to talk. I immediately got scared because I thought he wanted to break up with me. But instead, he said he wanted an open relationship because he missed going out to bars with his friends and he felt like he was missing out. I told him I didn't have a problem with him going out with his friends, but then he explained that it wasn't just that. He also wanted to be able to sleep with other women. He said it was like eating ice cream. I'm his favorite flavor, but sometimes he wanted to try other flavors. Whoa, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I asked him how I would know he wouldn't just find another favorite flavor and dump me, but he said I should trust him. Well, there was no way I was interested in an open relationship. For me, making love is a way of showing how much I care about someone, so the idea of him sleeping with other girls killed me. Wasn't I good enough for him? Christian was desperate to see other girls, so we decided to break up. The first few days were really hard. I couldn't stop thinking about Christian. I missed him so much, but I was also a bit angry because I felt like he had wasted 2 years of my life just to decide that I wasn't good enough. I felt rejected and thought my life was over. But Of course, it wasn't. A few months later, I started going out with another guy, David, and things were going well. He was only interested in me, and I felt really special whenever we were together. But then, right when I was in the middle of a date with David, Christian texted me saying he was sorry for breaking up with me. He said that he had been stupid and it was the biggest mistake of his life. Well, of course, I loved the fact that he wanted me back, even though I was with David, but I just didn't think I could trust him again. In the end, I wrote him that I wasn't interested. But the next day, Christian came to my apartment with flowers and said, "Please take me back. I can't live without you." Romantic, right? Wrong. It was so cringeworthy. It looked like he had just realized he couldn't find another girl better than me, so he wanted me back. And I also knew that if I said yes, he would only get bored with me eventually and want to see other girls again. I politely told him that I had moved on and I wasn't interested in him anymore. He looked devastated, but at least he got the message and didn't become some creepy stalker or something. After a few more dates, I decided David wasn't right for me. He was sweet, but I realized I wasn't ready for a new relationship yet. One day I'll find the right guy, the man I'll spend the rest of my life with. But this time I'll be more careful about who I date. I want to be sure my next boyfriend is mature enough to become my husband someday. Thank you for listening to my story. Have you ever had a messy breakup? Please share your experience in the comments and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.